This is a short video and really a message of warning and a reaching out to people to see common sense. There's going to be a ritual performed in a bookshop in Brooklyn, an occult bookstore in Brooklyn, to hex and bind this Justice Kavanaugh guy. Now, firstly, the guy... forget it, he hasn't been proven that he did anything wrong or right. I don't like Republicans as such. I certainly don't like Christian conservatives. And they're going to do something, these people who are hexing him are going into dangerous territory. I was talking to a gentleman called Hugh, and he reminded me of something I was only talking to someone else about last week. A phenomenon that happened to Native Americans, and what's happening with the Trump's binding spell amongst the cultists, and this latest fiasco in Brooklyn among Wiccans, is you're doing danger to the magical community. You're putting us in great danger. Now, how is this possible? If you look at the Native American situation towards the end of the 1800s, even though the United States had broken numerous treaties, the government, against the people like the Lakota and other tribes, there was concessions made to do things like to try to teach them to farm. It wasn't always well done. It was always full of mistakes. But there was an element finally within the United States administration and the people, particularly the liberals on the East Coast, to help the Native Americans, to help the Indians. Around the time that several treaties had been broken, and particularly the Lakota had lost its power, having difficulty transforming over to an agricultural existence, mainly because of many factors. This is how the whole thing of the lazy Indian came along. They were too lazy to farm. A lot of it had to do with the land the topsoil wasn't good enough and so on. But having said that, I always thought that the Native Americans were the best model ever for how not to behave when you're in a dangerous crisis. An individual, a Christianized Indian by the name of Jack Wilson, claimed to have a vision on New Year's Day during an eclipse that if Native Americans started doing a thing called a ghost dance, a certain dance in a circle, that it would resurrect. It was very much like a binding kind of ritual. It would resurrect dead Indians and dead natives and people to come up and finally banish from the Americas the white man. Time when Native Americans should have been involved in compromise, should have been involved in protecting themselves through the legal structures. This bloody stupid ghost dance thing took control. And it frightened even the Bureau of Indian Affairs, who wanted to actually help Indians, because usually these kind of dances took place before battles. And it made things absolutely worse. The Native Americans, particularly Lakota, went into a terrible state of mysticism that was not helping them in any way. They were not grounded in the real world. And this guy, I believe, Wilson, was Abrahamically infected and put into the Indians' mind a kind of a rapture, a kind of a Christian idea of salvation. And so they started behaving like Seventh-day Adventists or Mormons or Jehovah's Witnesses, doing some dance to herald in this event that would rid the white man. Instead of doing what they should have been doing, is to try and find accommodation ways so the white man wasn't going to go away. So accommodation ways in which to try and save their people, at least to prosper. The ghost dance became a magical ritual that actually destroyed Native Americans because it spread like an infection from tribe to tribe all over the US and Canada. It took people away from Native American folks away from doing things that needed to be done, pragmatic things, and put them into a denial. You don't go into magic and spirituality as a form of denial. It works in symbiosis with real world things. Basically, it led to the massacre at Wounded Knee, when, there's inexcusable behavior by the US military, slaughtering mostly women and children with machine guns, or high caliber type machine guns of the time, into an absolute slaughter. And Native Americans have never recovered. They'll never recover because they're still ghost dancing to this day. Now, we have... The first one was farcical, the Trump binding spell. That was just a bunch of hysteria. But this one is a bit more worrying because it's taking place in an occult bookstore, and occult bookstores are kind of like the nearest we have to temples today. They're repositories of knowledge. And for this ritual to be happening in this place is very similar in danger to the ghost dances by the Lakota people. It's not a good thing. You're bringing people in who are dangerous to the rest of the magical community. This is why so many of us within the magical and the sorcery community are horrified by this event. I can't believe it's actually going ahead. And then you have like idiots in Wicca and so on who are cheering it on like it's a great thing. Look, it doesn't matter what happens in government. This is the rules of magical engagement are quite clear. Unless the individual has harmed you directly, you cannot curse or hex them. And this is they're sort of basically you have a bunch of idiots, a bunch of neurotic harridans with witchy poo hats from frustrated Stevie Nicks cosplay types are putting the entire magical community worldwide, particularly the United States, in great danger with this ridiculous ghost dance inside the Brooklyn bookstore. I hope the bookstore cancels it. Please cancel it. I hope people share this video and get anybody involved in the occult or magic to please share this. If anything, it'll save the lives of the people who are taking directly part in the ritual, because they're going to get unbelievable rebound from this. And forget about Kavanaugh, forget about the Supreme Court, forget about Trump. Your magical workings is not for this kind of thing. And don't be ghost dancing the rest of us into oblivion. So please, if you're involved in magic, if you're involved, this is an emergency broadcast. Please, please, please spread this video as far as you can. Spread this idea as far as you can. And don't let these fools ghost dance us into the same position that Native Americans are today. Powerless. Powerless. Because this is all, this is what will happen. This is again the Abrahamic demon through Wicca attacking us once more through the back door, just like it got the Lakota through the ghost dancing and the Christian Jack Wilson. Please, please, please stop it.